I need to start by saying, wow, Sataram's presentations, who like those? That deserves a round of applause. And who is here for Warren's presentation? That deserves a huge round of applause. Because Warren's presentation specifically, he brought to the surface a reaction within my own body. So I'm like, what's happening here? This trigger and these thoughts. Oh my God, thoughts of comparison, thoughts of, I'm not good enough. Thoughts of, uh-oh, what if I fail? What if I don't do this right? So here's what happened. I took an Uber to my Airbnb. Then I took that Airbnb, where I went to my Airbnb, got my togs, that's New Zealand for swimming shorts, got my goggles, came back, went swimming, went into the sauna, went and took a cold shower, and now I'm here. And guess what? Still triggered. No, but seriously, this moment almost encapsulates what this whole presentation is going to be about. Because there is activation. And then all of a sudden, here comes the story, those stories of comparison, those stories of inadequacy, those stories of not good enough. And you can stay in the narrative, or you can get curious about the actual trigger, the fear that's present in the body, even in this moment. And that's the part that feels familiar to us. That's the part that we can track back. And if we track it back far enough, whether it's the womb, early childhood, what that fear actually represents is a fear of abandonment, a fear of disconnect, a fear of loneliness. Because what happens to us as mammals, biologically, if we are alone in those early stages of life? We die. So here's an ancient embedded survival instinct that is coming to the surface in a present-day context. What's being risked, what my mind, or actually not my mind, some part of my body believes that my attachment and thus my survival is being risked in this moment. Being aware of it, however, I can respond to it. Maybe this is what my nervous system needs. But most importantly, there's this magical thing. I could either subconsciously lean towards unconscious maintenance of attachment and stay small and blend in and survive, or I can do something else. And what's that other thing? One side is attachment. What's the other side? Authenticity. And for this, I will invite you to close your eyes. For this first part, there's going to be some writing afterwards. I'm going to read to you a few situations. And I just want you to listen and see which one your body has a reaction to. And if your body has absolutely no reaction to any of them, just think about an authority figure telling you what to do like I am right now. Maybe that's triggering. So, the first situation is a waiter bringing you the wrong meal. The second situation is a client missing a session and not letting you know. And of course, maybe this triggers some memories of things that actually happened, so pay attention to your body. Being stuck in traffic when you're in a rush or late for something. Getting a poor grade, mark review on a work or school assessment. Critical feedback on your CI video or practice. Receiving a no when asking someone on a date or a hangout. Your partner is on their phone while you're trying to connect. My wife added that one. Losing money on an investment. Not getting selected for a job you applied for. Someone making a joke at your expense. And finally, waking up late for school, work, or a bi-weekly meeting. All right, so you can open your eyes, and now we're going to have a little exploration. We're going to dig. We're going to dig for gold together. And whether you use your cell phone, pen and paper, or you simply track it in your mind, whatever allows you to engage in this exercise. So the first thing that I'd like you to consider as you reflect on the circumstance or situation that had the most significant impact on your body is, what's the feeling that came up for you? And you don't have to say it out loud, write it down. We're going to be sharing with each other in just a moment. Or with me. And now we've got the feeling, so we're going to dig some more. What is the story or interpretation in your mind causing this feeling to be present? Not the core belief, just what's the story? Why is this feeling present? What is the story you're telling yourself, the interpretation you're telling yourself that's causing this specific feeling to be present? And again, you may arrive at a core belief sooner than later, so we'll see how many steps it might take you to get there. So we're not going to stop yet. For those of you that have already written down your interpretation as to the story of why this feeling is present, next we're going to say, well, what are you believing about yourself in this story? Who are you in this story? So we're moving away from a general interpretation of what's causing a feeling to a more specific story about us. And finally, what kind of person, or what did you make it mean about yourself? As you followed this track, followed this train of thought, what is it that you made it mean about yourself? In what ways did that core belief help you adapt and thrive? And I'll ask this question in two different ways. What qualities were forged within you as a result of this core belief? Write that down. Write down what qualities were forged as a result of that limiting, self-destructive core belief. Does anyone want to just yell one out loud? Who wants to offer one? Just share it really loud. Sensitivity, that's one. Independence. How many of you wrote down independence? Good. Anyone else? Expression. Modesty. Honesty. Learning to say no. Courage. Resilience. That's a big one. Yeah. Generosity. Look at these things that we're calling self-destructive, these things that we're calling limiting are actually shaping the very qualities that make us who we are. They've shaped our strengths. They've shaped our identity, contributed heavily to that. How many of you are in touch and connected to your body right now? Can you close your eyes and connect to that part of you that you can feel? What happens when you say thank you out loud towards that part? On this journey of coming into contact with, moving away from core beliefs, how many of you have tried to get rid of the core beliefs? I'm going to take a new belief. I want a new one. I'm going to return this, thank you, and I'm going to buy this one over here. See, not only is that not possible, because it has shaped who we are, our personality, our lifestyle, our worldview. It literally is us. I wouldn't advise it because look at what it's given us in terms of these qualities. In fact, I asked the question, but I wrote it on the slide. How many of your life achievements wouldn't have happened without your core beliefs? I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't take on the belief that I'm not good enough. So I'm going to leave you with this image. And imagine if we traced back the core belief, which isn't a belief, right? Because the core belief is just a label that we put on a conditioned reaction. If we trace that all the way back to the first time that we suppressed authenticity, authentic expression, in order to belong, in order to survive, that's like the original seed of this way of being. And over time, as we practice and rehearsed behaviors that ensured attachment and thus ensured survival, that seed began to grow. And what you're looking at is that tree that grows from that seed. And all of a sudden, our entire life is based on this single reaction of maintaining attachment. My invitation is that you go buy a plaque and you put a plaque on that tree that says, "In loving memory, thank you for all the service. You've done a really good job." That we don't judge this part of us because you're here. It worked.
Thank you.
You survived. That was the fundamental function. And, see that little kid next to it? That child is planting something new. That authentic response that was so varied and diverse in the room based on your own individuality, based on the values that you might want to be cultivating in your life in this moment. How much time, care, and effort does it take to grow a new tree next to a tree that's huge and shading the area? How much time and care is required to get that seedling to grow? A lot of effort. But what happens as that tree begins to grow, that tree next to it begins to grow? What happens over time? Less and less conscious intention and energy is involved in that process. Because creating new beliefs or choosing new responses has to follow the same pathway that the old core beliefs were made. Through moment-to-moment behavioral interactions between yourself and the environment. So every time we are triggered, every time our attachment is being risked, we have the opportunity to choose authenticity. And every time we do, it's like nurturing a different way of being. It also means that we don't have to demonize this thing anymore, because I still need "I'm not good enough." How many of you still need "I'm not good enough"? It still comes in really handy when I'm preparing for a presentation. Or when I'm seeking to be a better therapist for my client. But you know when it doesn't come in handy? When I'm relating to my wife or my child. I don't want that way of being there. So I want to make sure that I've practiced different ways of protecting and navigating my present moment experience. I don't need to cut down this tree. I'm not going to, because it's responsible for who I am. And I hope that as you move through your life, you can begin to understand that this seed, this first reaction, that first suppression of authenticity was not a choice. It was an unconscious coping strategy to survive.